Did you know that your smartphone is more powerful than the computer used by NASA in 1969 to send astronauts to the moon? Stay tuned for more. Hey everyone, and welcome to XSTEM All Access. My name is Maynard Okereke, also known as the Hop M.D, and I'm excited to be part of this series showcasing some of the coolest minds in STEM. As your guest host for this episode, I am excited to chat with my friend, Mr. Dave Bakker. Dave is a CEO and Stanford University instructor who has a wealth of knowledge in the microelectronics industry, specifically with semiconductors. Currently, Dave is using his decades of technology and semiconductor experience to bring science to life for students through the use of wireless sensors in the classroom. I am excited to dive into the world of microelectronics. And yes, micro means they're small, but don't judge a book by its cover, because these micro technologies have a macro effect on all of our lives. But before we dive into this micro world, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I am a science communicator with a background in civil environmental engineering, and I started my platform, Hip Hop Science, to help spark curiosity and excitement in STEM by using music, entertainment, and comedy as tools to educate on a wide variety of subjects. I think curiosity is the key to unlocking so many amazing things in life, so I'm always excited to share fascinating things happening in the world of science, which is why I'm so hyped about our interview today, because the field of microelectronics is just so fascinating. But enough about me. It's time to meet our speaker. Dave, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi Maynard, how you doing? It's good to see you. I'm really glad to be here and talking to students about potential careers in microelectronics.
Let's jump right into our first question, okay? Dave, you are a professional who has been working in the world of microelectronics for many years. Let's start at the beginning, all right? What exactly are microelectronics and why are they so important?
Yeah, microelectronics is a really general term. And the way to think about it is it's something like YouTube. Like we all know what YouTube is, but YouTube is very general, and there's all kinds of content and information on YouTube. But when you say YouTube, you're really explaining a lot of, or covering a lot of territory. That's what microelectronics is, and microelectronics surround you. Everything you touch, you're watching me on devices that are powered by microelectronics. Your cell phone is powered by microelectronics. I have a microphone here. It has microelectronics, the camera, everything. You get in the car, it's full of electronics. So we've learned to rely on these products. I mean, think about, well, first of all, your car would stop without these. You'd have to go back to a car that had everything was manual. You couldn't roll down the windows. You wouldn't have a radio. They surround you. You wouldn't have a GPS. Maybe you'd get lost. So we kind of learned to rely on these. The Chromebooks, if you have Chromebooks in school, it's full of microelectronics. And so if you break that down into more specific things, the heart of microelectronics are these computer chips or semiconductors. And there's other things. There are things called MEMS, which are little tiny machines that are etched into usually silicon. There's displays, like the display you're watching on or the display on your phone. And what makes microelectronics especially unique and useful is that all these things are integrated into little tiny packages. If you think of a cell phone, there are many, many chips, computer chips in this. And they all have different functions. Like there's a computer chip for the GPS. There's a computer chip for the processor that runs this. There's a computer chip that runs the display. There's a computer chip that has the memory that holds your photos, your music. So what makes it really powerful is these are all integrated into these tiny packages. And what's really exciting about this field is it has grown exponentially. Probably even, if you're a student, you probably remember when you were younger, cell phones weren't as cool as they are now. They just get more and more powerful. Or there might not have been a GPS in the car when you were little. And these things are coming very, very fast. And the one thing that these are all fueling that I'm sure you're aware of is AI and large language models, or in other words, ChatGPT. It's a big topic in schools right now. That you think of AI as maybe a software technology, but it's really powered by microelectronics.
Having access to a smartphone is second nature for most of us, but we should all take a moment to reflect on the amazing fact that the devices we carry around in our back pockets contain all these tiny packages of powerful microelectronic technology. As I mentioned earlier, today's smartphones have more power than the computers used by NASA in 1969 to send humans to the moon, and we have this power literally at our fingertips every day, all thanks to microelectronics. Now, you may be wondering just how micro are these electronics? Let's take a look. Okay, so we all rely on microelectronics in the consumer devices we use every day, like smartphones, tablets, and computers. But there are other very important applications for technologies in this field. What are some other examples of industries or products that rely on microelectronics?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mentioned before, microelectronics are everywhere around you, and some of them you see, like you see your cell phone, you see the TV, but some of them are really invisible but very important. A great example of that is that we have global communications almost instantaneous. You can chat with somebody on the other side of the world and it feels like it's in real time. And that's made possible by undersea cables, largely. And those undersea cables are physical cables, like you see in the telephone poles outside your house that are run underneath the ocean. And there's all kinds of electronics that run those on both sides, that send the data, that receive the data, that make sure that there's no loss in the data. So there's an interesting example. Another thing is just the opposite end of the spectrum is up in the sky, satellites. The Earth is surrounded by satellites, and these are vital for communication. And a lot of these, there could be civilian satellites that are used for communications. There could be military satellites. Like you may not know that the GPS system that tells you where you are on the highway was built by the government for military purposes, for tracking things and being able to also fire missiles in a very specific location or know where people were and track them. And not too many years ago, it was made into a privately available system that we can use on phones. And now your car can tell you exactly where to turn left or turn right or how far you are from your destination because of those satellites that were initially built for military purposes. So there's a lot of examples like that where microelectronics are used in so many industries. I'll talk a little bit later about what I do today. My background is mostly in semiconductors, and I'll tell you about that later, about the chips that go into computers. But my company today is actually a microelectronics company. We make these little devices called Pocket Labs. And if you're a physical science student, I'll hold it up a little longer, you might actually have one of these in your class to do physics experiments. And this is actually microelectronics. So inside it, you can see a little circuit board and a bunch of electronics. There's chips, there's resistors, capacitors, and they're all mounted on this circuit board. It's a perfect example. So it's around you everywhere.
Wow, it's pretty crazy how microelectronics are literally everywhere. I've had a chance to spend a lot of time out at sea and work on space-related projects as well, so I know firsthand about those undersea cables and satellites. We literally have data flowing all around us all the time here on Earth. It's absolutely unbelievable. Now, let's get back to our questions, okay? In your career, you've also worked extensively with semiconductors. can you briefly tell us about semiconductors and how they're related to microelectronics?
Yeah, I would love to do that. Semiconductors are so cool and exciting, and very few people actually know what they are. It's a giant industry and multi-hundred-billion-dollar industry. And they make the computer chips that are inside your electronics, all the electronics we talked about, but that actually run it, that do things, that power it, that have the instructions, that have all the logic that makes them work. And a semiconductor is a little circuit. So if you had a circuits class, it's a circuit. It's a very simple circuit, but it's extremely tiny, and there's a lot of circuits. And let me give you an idea of how many circuits and how small it is. So the memory that's in your phone is probably made by a company called Samsung, which is in Korea. And currently there's 16 gigabits of memory on a single chip. And that chip, so 16 giga is 16 billion little bits of information. And that chip is about 75 square millimeters. So that means it's about 8 by 9 or 8 by 10 millimeters. So think about 16 billion little circuits inside 8 by 9 millimeters. It's like your fingernail. And that holds a massive amount of memory. That can hold a lot of YouTube videos on your phone. So it's incredible. And these are made in these very expensive, very well-controlled things called fabs, a fabrication line. So fab for short. And there's hundreds of machines in there that actually make these circuits. They print the circuits with technology called lithography. They etch the little circuit lines. They put the resistors, resistant films, and things like that into the device. And it's just an amazing industry. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs. It's very, very important. If fabs went away, you would know it instantly because everything would stop working. We are consuming chips constantly. We're building new phones constantly, new computers, new satellites, new airplanes, new cars. They all have thousands and thousands of chips in them, and they're all made in these amazing factories.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did you just say 16 billion circuits in something the size of my fingernail? That's absolutely incredible. Now, you also mentioned that the semiconductor industry has many jobs and opportunities. So let's dive a little deeper into this, okay? Take a look. Now, if you're looking for a growing industry that impacts the world, maybe semiconductors are a field you want to investigate further. Now, Dave, there are many types of engineers who work in the microelectronics and semiconductor fields, including electrical engineers, materials engineers, systems engineers, and many more. But I'm curious about career roles for other skilled workers in these very important fields. Can you tell us about the other types of jobs that exist for students who are interested in a career in microelectronics or semiconductors?
So Maynard, there are so many science careers, and they range from engineers with PhDs to technicians. So there's just a vast array of needs to do these. And everybody thinks of the standard engineering, I might take electrical engineering or chemical engineering or soft computer science or physics. So those are all valid choices, but there's a lot of technical jobs too. Somebody's got to fix these electronics, and even in the semiconductor wafer fabrication line that we talked about, the machines that run there are very sophisticated. They break down all the time, and technicians come in and fix them. And or maybe a simpler thing is think of your car. Like, who fixes your car? There's technicians who fix the electronics on your car. So there's a vast array of jobs. And the thing is, for a lot of microelectronics and semiconductor jobs, there isn't always a college course. Like, you can't take semiconductor engineering. There's a couple universities in the country that have this, very few. But what we would hire for those jobs were students who took science in high school and then went and took some science-related degree in college or a trade school. And it could be electronics, it could be electrical engineering, it could be mechanical engineering, it could be physics. There's just so many possibilities. And one thing I will tell you is these are great jobs. They're very high paying, they're very secure. Microelectronics are never going to go away. I mean, life would change if they did. And there's always going to be a need for more and more. So they're fantastic job opportunities. And there are just so many that if you follow any science-related career and science-related major, you'll find great opportunities in this field.
Technician roles are often overlooked, but they play such a vital role in many STEM-focused industries, including microelectronics. If you're wondering what kind of technician roles exist in this industry, you can also take a look here. If you thought you needed to earn a 4-year or other advanced degree to work in STEM, think again. Trade programs are a great way to gain the skills and experience needed to make significant contributions in many industries, including microelectronics. Now, let's talk about metrology, or the science of measurement, as it relates to semiconductors. Why is metrology important in the industry, and what techniques are used to make precise measurements on such a micro scale?
Okay, so metrology is a field in semiconductor engineering where you measure all the different aspects of the devices, and there's many, many different things to measure. They fall into categories of thickness, width, but you can also, there's times when you measure the stoichiometry, or the materials themselves, and are the materials pure. So it covers a lot of ground. And the tools that use them are really cool. As the semiconductors are getting smaller and smaller, right now I just saw an announcement from TSMC. They're going to make 2 nanometers. So if you look that up, that's 20 angstroms. It's extremely small. And to measure that, mostly what's used are electron beam tools, a scanning electron microscope. And you measure the width of something or the height of something, and you're really just looking at the image, and it's really a computer will analyze the image and determine what the size of the feature is that you're trying to measure. The semiconductor devices will usually have something called a target, which is a special place you measure, and it'll be clean from any processing, and it'll be in an open area where there's an effect from anything next to it. And these tools automatically go in and measure these targets. And it's really, really cool. It's really fun. So why is this important? It's very important. These are electrical circuits. So if the lines are too wide or too narrow, at the extremes, they won't work and they fail. And you want to know that. early in the steps that you process the chip, because sometimes it can be fixed. You can go back and redo something. You would reprint a feature, or you would etch it more, or something like that. But the other reason, so it's good to know if the computer chip is going to work or not. The other reason you might care about personally is if you get all the dimensions right, the computer chip will run at maximum performance. And a lot of times you'll see, if you're buying a new computer, you'll see different speed processors. Well, those are not really intentional. The lower speed processors are ones where the metrology wasn't perfect. The highest performance processors, in terms of the speed, the processing speed, are the ones that have perfect metrology. So there's a lot of reasons for it, and it's such a cool art, and it's looking at the features, it looks like you're on an alien planet, and it's just a fascinating science.
So, the science of metrology, which most people don't know very much about, is the reason our computers are able to process information at maximum speed. How amazing is that? Scanning electron microscopes are so cool because they use a beam of electrons to measure instead of light. The result is a much higher magnified three-dimensional image that wouldn't be possible with a traditional light microscope. This amazing technology allows us to take these very tiny measurements of microelectronics. Dave, what do you see happening in the future of microelectronics in semiconductors? And what can students do now to prepare themselves for careers in these rapidly evolving and very important industries?
Yeah, so that's like the $1 million question. What would I do? Because I have children that are school age too, and how do you prepare for this? So what's interesting today is that the pace of technology is much faster than when I was in high school. When I was in high school, we could pretty much predict what a career would be in 10 years by the time you got out of school and maybe went to college or whatever. And today you can't. Technology is moving too fast. If you can go back just a couple years, would you have thought ChatGPT would be able to write a paper for you? Nobody thought that. It just happened it seems like it happened overnight, and that created thousands of jobs for engineers who can work on the technology behind that, which is called a large language model, or LLM. And they're very lucrative careers. And nobody could have told you 5 years ago that would have been a career. Okay, so given that, how do you prepare? That is a interesting question. And what I can tell you is that in industry, what matters is that you have the foundation, the science-based foundation. It could be engineering, it could be physics, it could be biology even. There's biology-related microelectronics. So you have the science foundation, or even a tech career. Or a technical school. Those foundations are, once you have it, you are able to do these jobs that we don't know will be there. And the other skill that's really important for you to develop is the ability to learn how to learn, to be able to try things and experiment and be okay with being wrong and figure things out. So you're in school to learn how to learn, not to memorize a bunch of formulas and things like that. So if you can just focus on, hey, I love learning, I'm just relax. I know math problems are hard. Just relax, put on some music, just work through it and try to enjoy it, and just have keep this passion going for new ideas and new things to learn. That will set you up perfect for these careers. But we don't know what they are. I can tell you that semiconductors are going to get more powerful for sure. I know that. But what are they going to be used for? We don't know. So if you focus on just get the foundation, you need these science classes, and then just develop your love to learn. Set the electronics aside and sit down and spend some time thinking about ideas and scientific questions and the scientific process, and you will be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine, because we don't know what the jobs are. We just need you to have this foundation and this willingness to learn.
Develop your love to learn. I absolutely love that advice. As I always say, curiosity is nature's PhD. Never stop asking and always stay inquisitive. It's all part of the learning process as well. Dave, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I really loved learning about the microelectronics industry and how these tiny packages of technology are driving everything from our ability to communicate, to making our cars operate properly, to the transport of data under the ocean, and even helping the military keep us all safe.
Well, Maynard, thank you. I really enjoyed being here, and those are great questions. And I really hope you students stick with science. These are amazing careers. You'll always be in demand. I love it because what I do changes every day. So I really appreciate you listening. I appreciate the opportunity to reach out to students, and hope to see you again at some other opportunities.
Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel in the description below and follow us on social media to get updates about new episodes. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single one. Plus, you'll also get access to fun weekly content for students and teachers. And don't forget to check out the full library of episodes available on demand right here. Each one has an NGSS-aligned lesson plan for teachers to use in the classroom. And each lesson also includes an optional social-emotional learning component. With your parents' permission, of course, also tell us how you were inspired today by tagging us at USA Science Fest, #XSTEM, and me at Hip Hop Science Show. And keep up with me through social media right here, where you can find out about all my workshops, keynote presentations, and creative science activities aimed at sparking curiosity and excitement in STEM. I had an absolute blast being your host today, but don't sign off just yet. You'll want to stick around through the end of this video for a fun trivia game that you can do in the classroom or at home. Have fun and good luck. We'll see you soon.